Hey everyone, and welcome to the finale of the Alternate Future of the World series. Yes, that's right, the series is going to end today. While many of you do enjoy this series, it just isn't doing as well as I had hoped, and so I will have to be ending it here. But before we get into this scenario, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All support is greatly appreciated as we try to reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So yeah, let's get right into the scenario. So as most of you know, the world is quite neutral at the moment. Like, even if we look at the alliances, there really isn't any alliances. You'll see this purple one here, but that's a neutral alliance, basically. And it's not really a military alliance either. The only one that really isn't peaceful or neutral would be the CSTO, even the WDO if you consider that, if you look at it that way. But while we're looking at alliances, we're actually going to talk about Australia, who is going to leave the WDO. But another country that's going to probably shock you, and they're also going to leave the WDO, is none other than the USA. They've been turning a lot more imperialistic in the last few videos, taking over a lot of land and expanding. As you remember, they started World War III, or maybe it was IV, I don't remember, by invading Canada. Well, that didn't go well for them. And they also got into a lot of trouble. California got independence, Florida got independence, same with Texas, and they formed a southern United States of America, which is mostly down here-ish. But then the USA invaded that and annexed them. They're getting involved in a lot more wars. And as the world moves towards a much more peaceful approach, a lot of countries aren't a fan of that. And so USA is actually drawing farther away from some of its former closest allies. Another country that's leaving the WDO is actually going to be Poland. Again, they want to be more neutral, as well. You can see a lot of Eastern Europe is following that, is actually doing that. If we look at the normal map here, we now have Italy joining in on the European Union with France, Germany, and other countries. And we actually have Poland and Czechoslovakia joining in on the Eastern European Union. Another large event in Africa is, of course, a fully unified continent. It has been a long time coming, but too bad it had to happen in the last video. And if we look at the alliances, I know it's not updated, but all of Africa would be in the Yellow Alliance, and they're also in it with Arabia. And how do you get around that? Yes, they also joined the African Union. So all of that is one country. They're probably the largest country in the world. Actually, not probably. They definitely are. Because like the map projection, that Russia is only like as big as the Sahara or something. There's a site that shows that. Whatever. But we actually see a fully unified Africa now. And even going into Asia, we see Uzbekistan uniting with Kazakhstan. These two Russian republics unite together. And these two former Chinese countries also unite together. Overall, just a much more unified world now. But this series is going to end in this video. And how might that happen, you ask? Well, if you watch the last video, you'll see the tensions are very high down here in Central America, or Southern North America. And a lot of the countries here don't like the US. And this probably doesn't help them out. So yes, the US will be declaring war on all of these countries. They did get into a war in the last video, but they kind of resolved that. But not for long. The US wants to take back a lot of its former lands. As you might know, they used to control a lot of this land in Mexico too. And of course Florida and California. And so they want this back. Well, that's actually going to anger a lot of other countries, such as Peru and Argentina. All these countries left the Orange Alliance in the last couple of videos, and tensions in the Americas have been quite high since then. And with that, we actually see the rest of the Orange Alliance joining this war on the side of America. So now to get started with the fighting, the US starts a campaign into the Panhandle of Florida, taking it out quite easily, and begin to push down the rest of the peninsula. They also push out and cut off Mexico from California, and they start a campaign into Northern California. The US has fully mobilized their military in the south, as they really want to take back this land, and I don't know how well it's going to go for them. Totally not foreshadowing anything. Down south, the red team also begins to push into Peru, Colombia, whatever you want to call this country. Brazil also starts to push into the panhandle of Argentina, but Argentina starts to push into Bolivia. Back up north, the US also starts to campaign into the central areas of Mexico, and this actually goes quite well as they spearhead towards their capital. Eventually, most of the Floridan Peninsula is taken out, and the US uses their navy to make a landing in eastern Cuba and in the Yucatan Peninsula. Now with the US heavily distracted down south, we actually see Canada declaring war on the US. And with that, the other members of NATO, I guess is just NATO now, also join this war, as they really want to end wars. It's kind of a weird thing. They're going to join a war to end a war. I don't know about that, but that's what they're doing. And with that, Canadian troops start to flood in through the American border and are quickly approaching Washington, D.C. They take out this peninsula here, and they make a landing on mainland USA. They start to push down into the Carolinas, and their campaign is going quite well. They also start one into Wisconsin, and they attempt to meet up with California through Oregon. Overall, the tides of this war have quickly turned, as it's now pretty equal. And with that, we actually have Iran making a pretty surprising move by declaring war on these European countries, and that's actually going to bring Turkey into this war. Turkey, if you remember, is a completely neutral country, and they have been for a little while, and they highly dislike Iran because they've taken a lot of land from them, and because it's Turkey and Iran, they just don't like each other. And that's going to bring Africa into the war on the side of the blue team, because they don't like each other either. And now we have Pakistan and Afghanistan joining this war. And then with Pakistan and Afghanistan joining, the rest of the and then all of the Asian alliance is going to join on the side of the blue team. And then that's actually going to bring Indonesia onto the side of the red team. And then that, of course, will bring Australia into this war. And then a couple other European nations, such as Spain and Eastern Europe, are actually going to join this war, just because they don't like Iran, and they want to help to end wars. So, yeah. And with that, something's actually going to happen, and it's something that I've never done in any of my videos, and it's actually going to be the US. They're going to send a nuclear bomb across the Atlantic Ocean, and it's going to land somewhere in Europe, maybe like Paris or something, somewhere central, and the entire world is shocked by this, as US and France are former allies, or I guess it's the EU now, and a lot of countries have agreed not to use nuclear bombs, as it's supposed to be a peaceful world. Well, now this starts off a huge chain of events. Iran, who does have nukes by this time, sends a nuke into Turkey, hitting their capital and other major cities. They send some into Africa, hitting their major cities along the coast, into Arabia, into India, and a lot of other countries. Nukes hit the UK, Spain, Portugal, everywhere. Apparently Indonesia has nukes because Australia just got hit. Lots of their major cities. And apparently Australia also has nukes because now Indonesia is getting hit. And really nobody is safe. Eventually the US begins to get nuked, as a lot of their major cities on their coast are being nuked. Canada's cities are being nuked. Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. Cities in California are being hit. Really nowhere is safe. Cities in South America. It's mainly their capital cities, as these countries are trying to take out government. But fighting does continue. As if we go back over here, the Asian alliance does start to push into Iran. And they actually take out a lot of land, as Iran thought their nukes would stop any invasion. Well, they were kind of wrong. And so what does Iran do? They send a bigger nuke into here. And another one, and another one, another one. And they start nuking along their border, trying to knock out any troops. One of these nukes hit themselves, and that's not good. So then eventually countries start sending bigger nukes into Iran, hitting any major cities they have, into Afghanistan, Pakistan. Some made their way into India. Into Africa. Of course, Europe. Asia. Japan. Korea. China. And really, this is how the world ends. It's just all-out nuclear war. It was bound to happen at some point. Yeah, this is how the world ends. Eventually, the world just kind of destroys itself, and everybody, and that's the end of the world. I know, pretty anticlimactic, but I did have to make this video shorter. That is going to be it for this video, and the series, of course. Apparently, one island survived. Not for long. But yeah, so thank you for all the support on this series, to those of you who continuously watch them. On Saturdays, I will now just post kind of whatever videos I want. Some of them will be mapping, some of them won't. Mapping videos are, of course, still on Wednesdays, and other types of videos are on Mondays. I do have channel memberships for those of you who want those. You get access to special perks such as member shoutouts, members only videos, members only posts, and other fun stuff like that. So go check that out if you're interested. Make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All support is greatly appreciated. And so yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.